Hello, David Zaritsky. I'm actually standing in our MacGuffin room right now. We call it the MacGuffin room because a MacGuffin is a simple term for an artifact that heroes in a lot of different movies try to look for, like the Maltese Falcon. But we find out in the movies that it really doesn't matter what the artifact is as long as the characters are growing over time. And that's the real focus of what we're talking about today is understanding the characters of your story and how your brand influences them, and the fact that it starts with what we call a CX audit. CX standing for customer experience. The customer experience audit, because it starts with characters, really has to focus on the key moments of impact. And when we talk about characters of a story, we're talking about the stakeholders. Who are those individuals who can influence your brand, and who can the brand influence? Well, you've got the patient, you've got the salesperson, you've got the physician, the nurse, the pharmacist, the list goes on. And then you also have the environments to which these characters take place. So you've got the hospital, you've got online, you've got the pharmacy, you have checkout. It's pretty endless. So how do we organize ourselves around this customer experience audit? Well, in the simplest terms, the customer experience audit is really a means to an end. It's a way that we can focus on the net objective, but really get very specific about the strategies that are needed. The first thing that we take a look at are conditions and prescription paradigms. We take a look at brand identity and market dynamics. We take a look at customer needs and wants, both emotional and functional. And we took a look at, obviously, the original strategies. From a phase approach, there is one. There's a certain amount of client onboarding that goes on with us as a company to you as a brand. That doesn't take a lot of time because immediately we start to jump into the data. It all starts with the data. And the data is around discovery of primary and secondary research. You may have a lot of primary research. You might not have that much. But most importantly, the secondary research, things like interviews and discussions amongst internal as well as external stakeholders, is vital. It's where we start to identify what gaps are there in the experience that the brand can actually fill. From there, we can go into strategic planning, which is taking all of those data insights and mapping them out to what we call a strategic brand map. A strategic brand map will have the imperatives, the necessary waypoints for us to create the tactics, or as we like to call them, the experiences. You also have to take into mind is even when you come up with those experiences, you are not done. Part of the customer experience audit makes sure that those experiences go through a certain rigor. Let's call it a filter of what we call customer experience drivers. They could be things like measuring usability, what we call tellability. It's not a word, but it's very informative. So are these moments of impact, are these experiences storytelling properties that other people can share in communities? Is your experience playable? Does it have a gamification? Is it personable? In other words, is it personified or is it individualized? Is it shareable? Is it measurable? Remember that old thing, measurement? All of those different factors are taken into mind first and foremost before we see, is this the right experience? And by the way, when people hear the word research, they start to get goosebumps. It starts to get a little intimidating. When we talk about research, we can do much of that ourselves. We can do what we call social scrapes, which is, think of social intelligence to the next level, but it's faster and it's a little bit more efficient. What are people talking about when it comes to your brand, the existing experience, what the competitors are doing, and how do we take all that information, emulsify it into truly identifiable points on the journey? We take a look at customer profiles as they exist today, demographics, what we call opportunity zones, geographies, cultures, behavioral assessments. We love looking at behavioral assessment. Behavioral science is such a good marker for what we're doing from a marketing standpoint. Obviously, Google Analytics, creating a customer experience brandscape around competition, and then even creating a SWOT. Now, you've all created SWOTs. You're like, David, how is that unique? We create a SWOT not from the brand point of view, but from the character point of view, often from the patient or the healthcare professional point of view. So we talk about the strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats in accordance to them, which makes it very customer-centric. Primary research, and then finally developing the strategy, which often becomes the customer experience journey map. That's all about outlining the different characters of the story to the story itself. What commonality do they have? But more importantly, what influence do they have over each other? And then finally, this is what you've been waiting for, how does your brand intersect? How does your brand act as a support to be the best sidekick to their hero journey? Once we do that, we can start to take a look at that brand map and immediately start to identify the different tactics. One of the things that I can't stress enough is you may be saying to yourself, well, David, I have a strategy group. I have an AOR. I have all these different aspects. I even have a patient journey map. But do you have a customer experience audit? Because it is different. We'd love to actually show you, not capabilities, but different case studies. Let's call them best practices of how others have engaged in the industry, these customer experience audits, to really set forward their path of intelligence of what they should be focusing on as marketers and sales throughout their journey. Get in touch with us, and we'd love to talk to you more about it.